Hi everybody, welcome to tonight's Taubmans Live Colour Advice session. My name's Fiona, I'm a Taubmans Colour Specialist and we are here this evening to talk all things colour. So if you are joining us for the very first time this evening, I welcome you and I'll quickly let you know how our sessions roll. So for the first half an hour, I will be on screen in front of the camera. We sort of hold a little bit of a mini masterclass, if you like, about a topic. And it's a fantastic start by letting you all know that next we have a very exciting session planned. We're going to be live with James Treble, and it's a fantastic opportunity for you out there to ask questions, have them answered by James and myself. So very, very excited for that. So there'll be no pre-recording and then posting it. It's actually going to be live. So super excited. So don't forget, once the post is out there and the event's been created, register your interest so that you don't forget to join next week. To start by letting you all know as well, I'm hoping that we're live. I seem to be having a little bit of trouble with internet here, so let me just check. If we're not live, just give me a moment. I'm just waiting to see whether our head office can let me know. Okay, we are going to talk about, let me just see. Oh yeah, we are live. Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you. Sorry everybody. We seem to be having a bit of a delay on my end here. And I'm not sure whether, because we do have some really bad weather, extremely bad weather at the moment. It's very, very windy. So I was just wondering whether we had lost connection for a moment. So I do hope we haven't. So tonight, as I said, tonight's all about helping you demystify some of the frequently asked questions that we do get asked. And we certainly have been asked quite a lot around what is trending, talking about whites. We talk about those every week, but also talking about a particular colour which I think is fantastic, and it's a colour called beige. You've probably all heard of beige, and you've probably heard about it being spoken about many a times before. So I'm going to just start a little session tonight. I'm just trying to get my computer here. Looks like we are experiencing quite a little bit of difficulty here. Okay, maybe I'm back. Fantastic. Awesome. Okay, so look, beige is a fantastic colour, and I do believe that having looked at what's trending and looking at the colour forecast and colour trends that are moving forward, we are going into a warmer tone for interiors and also for exteriors. That doesn't mean to say that white's out. It certainly isn't. I think that white's going to be around for a very long time. But we are seeing that shift going into that slightly warmer. And so for the last, I suppose you could say, week or so, I think we're having internet issues, I've just been told. So I may just see if I can just bear with me, everybody. And I'll just check to see whether we are back online. This is what happens when we're live. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think we are having internet issues. Oh, now it's playing all right. Okay, sorry about that. Let's just continue. It's saying we're live again, so fantastic. Okay, what a mix-up for the beginning of our session. Anyhow, so back to beige. So beige is a fantastic colour that is extremely versatile. And I do believe that we're going to see a lot of it coming through for, you know, seasons moving forward. And I do believe that it works extremely well with many other colours. And I know from having been in store talking to a lot of consumers, but not only that, but also from our live sessions where we do help a lot of consumers and customers out there with what sort of colours to use and where to use colour. I know that colour is starting to be used a lot more. A lot of people are starting to get a little bit more confidence with colour, but there is still that need or still that want from our consumers for those colours that can be used that are very neutral, that are going to stand the test of time. So that's why I thought tonight we'll talk a lot about beige. Okay, I'm just being told now that we're all good now. So sorry to everybody that's been watching and it's all been a little bit all over the place. Anyway, so let's say, so beige is a pale sandy colour that can vary in shade and tone, but is generally a light neutral colour that is associated with simplicity, elegance, and calmness. It is a versatile colour that can be used in a variety of settings and is often seen in interior design. Beige can also be described as a warm, muted colour that is created by combining shades of things like yellow, brown, and white. Some popular shades of beige include ivory, cream, and taupe, and khaki. Let's not forget that the interpretation of beige can sort of vary for many. And I believe that it has evolved a little more to include hues that have almost that slight sort of pinkish undertone to them as well. So beige is a light brown that is often associated with simplicity, sophistication, and the origin of the word beige is a French word which has come from, natural wool or undyed wool. So I've just had a question come through. Okay, so I might just park beige for a moment. Thank you, Odette, for joining us. Would you like your whitest white your whitest white for Hampton's cladding? Okay, so I guess you could say our whitest white would be something like Miss Universe or Taubmans Brilliant White. So they're probably the two whites that would be our whitest white. Odette, are you painting external or are you painting internal? I guess that's something that comes into play, because when you start using whites for exterior, it's very important to understand how white will work in an external application. And so whites tend to, and I always use the terminology or the term, they tend to bleach out for an exterior, because obviously you've got lots of sunlight, etc., beaming down or coming onto that exterior. And so the white will appear or will become a lot whiter. So it's very important to ensure that when you're using white for external, that it has enough tint or undertone to absorb some of that light, stop that reflectance. So if you can come back to me, Odette, I'd be very happy to expand on that further for you. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to go to my iPad and I'm going to share with you some images of beige, and then I'm going to continue talking through, and I'm very happy to answer any questions that you do have throughout this session. So please keep popping them into the feed and I'll continue answering them for you. So let me just bring that up and I will pop myself into the corner and let me just share my iPad. Oops, let's go again. So we talk about beige and you can see there's a great interpretation of the many shades of beige. There's some beautiful, beautiful tones there, and beige is a very easy colour to work with. So I believe that it's fair to say that beige is making a comeback as we head into the warmer tones. And I do believe that because beige has that sort of element of, brown to it, it can be described as being a safe, because brown is known as being a colour that is attributed to being safe, trusting, etc. I think that's why we're starting to see brown and tones like this come into play, especially when you come out of a pandemic, if you like. And because brown can provide a sense of strength and reliability, feelings of warmth, comfort and security. So I would say that's why we're starting to see a lot of brown come through. Okay, so thank you, Odette, you've come back to us. Okay, so it's an exterior white Hampton's house. Okay, fantastic, Odette. So I'll come back on screen and then come back to that. So for an exterior white for your Hampton's house, I mean, you can go really, really white if you want, but I would always recommend that you test the white via a sample pot first to see how it's going to perform in the exterior, because as I said before, with a lot of natural light on a true bright white, it's going to be very, very glary. So I always talk about this, and I'll talk about it again tonight. When I look to work with whites for exterior usage, I look at something that's called the LRV, which is the light reflectance value. Now that appears on, or every colour I should say has an LRV. We have fantastic information around LRVs available on our Taubmans website, but we also too have it available sort of just on our Taubmans fan deck. On the back of every single colour has the LRV. So the way an LRV, the light reflectance value, works is sort of you're wanting to work for something for external purposes. When we're looking at a white, if you look at a white that has an LRV of around about 65 to 75, pushing it to 80, you know it's going to be safe, if you like, and it's going to work extremely well for all over broad wall external application. If you're wanting to use a white, a really bright white for trims, I don't think the LRV is going to come into play. But just to give you an example, so we do know one of the most frequently used whites for external purposes is a colour called Surf Mist. And Surf Mist has an LRV of 66.97, so about 67. And when that's put on an external wall, etc., and in full sun, it looks really white. It has a tendency to, as I was referring to before, to bleach out. So it will look lovely, bright white. So I would recommend having a look at something like that. Also having a look at something like Taubmans South Pole. There's also another white. What else do we have here? Gazebo white's also another really beautiful white that has enough of an undertone so that when it is in full sun, it's going to perform really, really well. So I'm happy to pop some of those colours into the feed. So something, a depth that I would recommend having a look at would be, and I'll repeat it again, so something like Gazebo White, Taubmans South Pole, and also have a look at Surf Mist as well, because I know how well Surf Mist performs on an external application. So, but if you're wanting a really bright white, you can certainly do that. And you know, you've got bright whites, as I said before, like your Miss Universe, your Taubmans Brilliant White. But I would certainly advise just to get yourself a piece of cardboard. Go into your local hardware store. All of our paint that comes in to the hardware store onto all of the pallets. They have what's called pallet liners in between. So they're large pieces of cardboard. If you can acquire one of those, you're wanting to get yourself around about 1 metre by 1 metre square of cardboard, brushing out 3 coats of the white that you're wanting to trial, and putting that outside in full sun so that you can see how it's going to perform, and also moving it around to the areas of the dwelling that aren't going to receive a lot of light, so you also will see how that colour is going to perform sort of in those instances as well. So that would be my recommendation to you. I hope that helps. If I can help you any further, please pop something else into the feed and I'll be very happy to assist. Thank you. Oh, and also too, when I do finish streaming this session, I will pop some links to the colours into the feed for you as well. Okay, so back to talking about beige. Let me just see, I think I may have another couple of questions here. Let's just have a look so that I can continue on those before we go back to, oh no, we're all good. Okay, so back to beige, back to using it for internal purposes, and you can also use it for external use as well. I think there are many shades of beige that are a little bit more intense that will work extremely well for an external application. So, you know, the use of beige can be tracked back to, you know, ancient times when it was used in natural materials such as wool and linen. So it goes back that far that beige has been a fantastic colour to use, and it was sort of you could say became quite popular in fashion during the 1920s and the 1930s when Coco Chanel introduced her little beige dress. So it's not only being used for interiors and in interior design, it's also being used in the design world as well, in fashion. So I'm going to take you back to my iPad. I'll pop myself up in the corner. So here you can see a few, if you like, shades of beige. And you know, it's all going to come down to really what appeals to you. So here you have there's some beautiful beige tones. I really do quite like Pebble Bay. I think that it works extremely well whether you want to dilute it down to perhaps a 1/4 strength for interior purposes, or whether you really want to just go to the full strength. I know that using full strength externally looks fantastic as well, and it works really well when you start to introduce beautiful blues. So beige is, as I said, you know, as you can see there's quite a few variances to it. And I'm also going to show you as well, I've just popped those 5 beige sort of hues that I've taken, but I've also put together some other colours that work really well with them, just to show you how you can pair other colours with beige, show you how versatile it is, and depending on the undertone that you are selecting with your beige will depend on the other colours that you can create that beautiful colour palette with. I really do love how the grey beige works really well with sort of those dusty sort of muted mushroom going into a pink tone. And then Portland Stone, I think, works extremely well with that beautiful pink tone there. What else do we have there? We've got Assurance working well with a lighter sort of blue, and then going into sort of a deeper sort of muted blue tone. Pebble Bay Half, look at that, the colour Babbling Stream. So a colour that's sitting on the edge between sort of your green and your blue, and then more of an intensified sort of version there as well. And then obviously the Mullany Mist, I'm looking at my screen here, we've got a beautiful green that just sits extremely well. And then obviously using, what other colour do I have here as well? Okay, so Brimstone Smoke as well. So a deeper version of a beige, and look, some fantastic colours that you can work really well with. Very adaptable if you're wanting to use one colour throughout your entire dwelling. You know, you can pick a beautiful beige and then you can use the other sort of hues that I've popped on the screen there to create things like feature walls, or perhaps even introducing those sorts of colours if you're wanting to be a little bit adventurous, painting something like a barn door or internal doors in colours like that. Works really, really well. And again, you can sort of use these tones as well and adapt them for external purposes. Sticking with classic sort of colour schemes that are very timeless, that work extremely well with beige. So you've got your beige going with something in the realm of a navy blue that works beautifully together. And I do know that we are still being asked quite a lot about Hampton style interiors, exteriors. And so using something like what I've shown there, the Pebble Bay with the Elegant Evening, I think makes a fantastic beginning of a fantastic colour scheme for a Hampton style interior. And then going into something that's quite classic and quite sophisticated, using the grey with using the beige with black. Again, timeless, very striking. And I can see this working extremely well with something like introducing gold, gold handles and gold accessories. And then obviously you've got your Pebble Bay Half, and then brilliant white, a beautiful, clean, bright white, which I think would look fantastic to have as trims, doors, things like your ceiling as well, and just creating a beautiful classic scheme. So that just gives you a little insight to what beige is as a colour, how beige can be used. I'll just come back onto the camera. How beige can be used extremely well in an internal application, and how it works really well with other tones. So, and I'm happy to pop some of those images into the feed as well. So if you are embarking on a colour journey and you are painting the interior of your home and you're wondering where to begin and you're wanting something a little warmer, I think this is a really good place to start. Now let me see what else I have here. Okay, some of the other questions that have been filtering through as well around the products that we have, and we've been asked if we can explain the difference. So there's a question here, and I've got one particular question. Okay, can you explain the different paints used for different areas? I feel overwhelmed when I walk into a paint shop. Now, I've had quite a few people and quite a few interactions with consumers, and we've talked a lot about this. So I guess it's to understand why each product is used where. So I'll begin with, okay, so I will begin with talking about using a ceiling paint which is flat for your ceiling. And the reason that we recommend using a ceiling paint or a flat paint is it's going to stop any glancing light, and it's also going to hide any imperfections. We also recommend, like when you're talking about broad wall interior paint, using something that is suitable for that, hence the broad wall interior. And I would recommend using, I'm always going to say Endure. Endure is a fantastic product. And you could use that in a low sheen, or you could use that in a matte finish. Now, a low sheen is fantastic, as is a matte. It just depends on the look that you're after. So with our Endure, you can, because of the NanoGuard technology, you can scrub the paint surface, like scrub the wall. It's not going to burnish or produce shiny patches, which is commonly known as burnishing. It also is available in a matte finish, which is fantastic. If you do have, I'll reference perhaps a Queenslander, for example, where you've got, a long hallway, you've got older plasterboard, older walls that do have imperfections. Using a matte finish is going to help hide those imperfections. So it's just understanding the paint and then the sheen level that goes with it. And then for your doors and trims, using an enamel is really important, because an enamel is extremely hard wearing. And when you're talking about your trims are like your, I'm just looking at mine here, are like your skirting boards. And for me, or for a lot of us that may be vacuuming and you're constantly hitting that skirting board, you want something that's going to withstand the knocks and be able to handle that. So we have a fantastic range of products, and one that I particularly do favour is a water-based enamel. Now, the beauty of using a water-based enamel, for obvious reasons, it's going to have minimal smell, so low VOC. It's been endorsed by Sensitive Choice. So anybody that suffers from allergies and asthma can safely use that. That also applies to our Endure, as I mentioned before. But a water-based enamel is non-yellowing. So if you choose to paint your trims, perhaps you're doing your walls in a beautiful beige, like we've talked about tonight, and then you're going to do your trims in brilliant white. You're wanting them to stay really nice and white. So it's very important to use the appropriate product for that. If you're renovating, or if you've got new plasterboard or gyprock, it's really important to ensure that you prepare the surface. So using something like 3-in-1, so it's a primer, sealer, undercoat, and has exceptional filling properties. So gyprock contains lots of tiny little pinholes, and you want something that's going to fill those pinholes and create an even surface, so that when you're putting that top coat on, it's going to apply evenly, and you're going to be left with a beautiful finish. So 3-in-1 would be the way to go. And now the easiest way to find our products is to hop onto our website, and I'll quickly take you there, and then I'll go back and answer the rest of the questions. So I'm going to pop on the laptop, pop myself up in the corner. Fantastic. So if you go to www.taubmans.com.au, and you'll be brought to a landing page that looks like this. You can, from the drop-down menu, you can view and browse colours, which is fantastic. All of our colours have been popped or grouped by family, so it makes it very easy when you are beginning your colour journey. Also too, as you can see here, you can sign up to get some inspiration. I do suggest you do that. We have some great literature popping into your inbox to help you there. But also where it says products here, this is where you want to go. So if you are unsure and you feel a bit sort of bamboozled about what goes where, visit this website and you can see. So you can select whether you're needing a preparation product, or whether you're looking for an exterior paint, for interior paint, for doors and trims, ceiling paint. So you can sort of go by category, which is going to help you when you're beginning that colour and paint journey. So I would certainly suggest come here, and then let's just have a look. Let's quickly have a look at our interior, and then you can start to browse the products that we have and navigate your way through. And as I touched on before with our Endure, it'll give you lots of information about it, the sheen level, the size, the features, and certainly a lot of great useful information. Okay, so I'll quickly come back. Okay, so all right, what do I have here in my questions? Let me just have a quick look. Okay, so hi Adet, thank you very much for coming back to us. So thanks for the information you're saying. Would you use crisp white? I don't want a creamy white with yellow undertones. So crisp white is a beautiful white. It's our number one white. I actually have it throughout the interior of my home. So what makes crisp white crisp white? So all of our colours or whites start out, if you like, as brilliant white. So which is kind of like, and I shouldn't say it, but it's like the stock standard white straight out of the can. And what makes white really white is the amount of titanium dioxide that is in the can of paint, if you like. So for crisp white, you've got that along with a tint that is called raw umber. Now, raw umber, when you look at it sort of in its natural state, if you like, straight in the tint, it's quite a, dare I say, a murky sort of brown. But what it does when it's used to create the colour crisp white, it gives you the most beautiful white that has a very slight element of warmth, if you like, only very, very slight. So some whites that have just black tend to be very cool and almost start to throw a little bit of blue. So, you know, this sort of is the opposite to that, if you like. I think crisp white is the most wonderful white, and for anybody listening or watching out there, I would 100% recommend it for interior all the way. For exterior, honestly, I wonder whether it would still possibly be a little bit too bright. But I mean, that's entirely up to you. And obviously it depends on your surroundings and your environment, etc. So I would suggest that you trial it again, as I've talked about, just to see how it's going to work in your environment. It certainly doesn't have yellow undertones. That's not what I would say about it at all. But I'd certainly recommend giving it a sample and giving it a trial first, just to see how it's going to perform within your own space. Please, Adet, if you've got something else that I can help you with, or if you want me to sort of expand on that, please pop something else into the feed. Be very happy to talk further about that. Hi Liz, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Okay, so which beige is that for red? I can't read it, it's too small. Let me just have a little look here. Okay, so the beige that I've put with a colour called Henna Rust, and also a colour called Raffia Cream, which was sort of going into that pink. The beige is Portland Stone. It does tend to have, it's a beautiful beige that has there's a slight soft sort of pinkness to it, if you like. And I would be very happy in a moment when we finish streaming to pop that into the feed for you so that you can have a link to it and have a look. So thanks, Liz. Thanks for joining us. What else do I have here? I think there might be a couple more, but I think what I'll do is I'll hop off the screen after all of our mishaps when we first started this evening, and go back and pop in some links and sort of finish the evening that way. But I do want to, before we conclude, I do want to remind everybody that next week's session is super exciting, as I mentioned when we first started, hoping that you got to hear that before we had some issues, that we do have James Treble joining us live next week. So it will be live, no pre-recording. So it's a great opportunity for you to ask any questions for James or myself, and I will certainly be here to help you. Very excited about that. So we always pop out on our socials. There'll be, or obviously on Facebook, there will be an event that's created. So please register your interest so that it reminds you that James is here with us next week. Okay, so I'd like to conclude this evening, and thank you all very much for joining us and for hanging in there while we had a couple of interruptions with our internet service. It's been fantastic to have you with us this evening. I will be behind the computer, just not behind the screen, for a further half an hour or so. So I'll be very happy to answer any further questions that you do have. But until then, everybody stay safe. And as I always say, happy painting. Thanks very much for joining us. Bye.